fourth year in this system, and the one thing that's jumped out in our conversations with the players is how many miscommunications you guys have had in the secondary, and it's obvious on the tape. One guy's doing one thing, another guy's doing another thing, and there's these busted plays that we haven't seen a lot of in the last couple of years. Just to get to the point, how does that happen for these guys that aren't new to this system and aren't new to this team?
Yeah, I just think that it comes down to, evaluating their each and every play. I think it's important that we get together and we're good in terms of the assignment and the alignment and what we're doing functioning during the course of the game. Sometimes those things occur with motion and adjustment and jet motion and those types of things. And we got to make sure that we're on the details there with everybody. And that's what we're working to do.
George Bremer.
With Xavier Rhodes being out the first couple of weeks, what have you seen from Rocky Sin, TJ Carey, Isaiah Rodgers, and do you think that trio's snap count might change this week or going forward?
Yeah, so we'll see where Zave is this week as we go, and then we'll evaluate the reps from there. But that's going to be an ongoing evaluation based on how he feels and where he goes from there, and then we'll know more as the week goes. But yes.
JJ?
Matt, this first year of Tennessee with having a new offensive coordinator, how have you seen anything, if at all, change in how they're kind of operating their offense over the first two games?
Yeah, so Todd's put his own stamp on some different things in terms of the plays and how they're ran. But for the most part, they're pretty much the same group in terms of they want to run the football, as we saw a couple of days ago, and also the play action pass off of that. So they have not adjusted in terms of what their basic game plan is going to each and every game.
And what dimension does Julio Jones give them? I know Corey Davis obviously was a pretty good receiver that he, has kind of stepped in for, but what added dimension does he give that offense?
Yeah, I mean, when you have one really good receiver, you can tilt the field a little bit. So you can roll up to those guys. But then when you add the second guy there, it creates an issue. Typically, teams will have one good receiver and then a tight end. And that creates a little bit of the same problem. But when you have two receivers that create mismatch, then you have a problem on both sides of the field. So it's a challenge, and it's a challenge for every defense that's going to face this group with those two elite receivers.
Kevin Bowen.
Hey, Matt, what have you observed from your edge rush here through the first 2 weeks?
Yeah, so we're evaluating every single week. We need to get better. We need to have more pressure with our front four. And, those guys are working at that, staying on edges, working their games, working our straight rush. Every individual man's working their individual, speed rush, speed to power, all the different techniques that we're teaching. And, we're always going to want more there, and we certainly need more. That's going to help the entire defense when we get that.
I know you mentioned last week, just from a blitzing standpoint, you wanted to see that get home. Do you feel like that happened a little bit more in week 2, or what'd you see there?
Yeah, I thought we improved in a couple areas, in week 2. I thought, the positive side of it, the run defense was better. I thought we tackled better, not perfectly yet, but I think that we did those things well. I think we were doing a lot of good things there. I thought some other guys, played better football in terms of a whole group. We put some good snaps together there in the first half. In the second half, we had some good 3 and outs. We had 4, I think it was 4 or 5, 4 or less plays that we got 3 and outs. We had the takeaway on the 2 plays. So I think there was some good progress there going forward. And that's no different with our pass rush.
Joel Erickson.
Flus, the way the defense is built, is it tough to give a guy who's more of a speed rusher, pass rusher like Kamoko or Ben a lot of snaps in this defense? Do you kind of need defensive ends who are more, for lack of a better word, complete?
Are you talking, Joel? Are you saying like for like a complete defensive end, or is that what you're saying?
Well, just like Ben and Kamoko having a little trouble getting on the field in first and second down. Are there speed rushers that can play those roles for you as a starter? in terms of getting the 40, 50 snaps, or is it going to be tough for a guy who's mostly a speed guy to do that?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's when you're playing the style that we play, you need to be able to play first and second down, be able to play the run and be able to play a 9 technique, a 6 technique, a 5 technique, all the things that they do. And those guys are working to do that. And when they improve that, they'll increase their snaps. Right now, those guys are on our NASCAR group and they work that. And, I know Kimo got a couple snaps at the defensive end last week. And if he continues to practice, he'll get some more reps in terms of first and second down defense. But those guys are doing that and working hard with their coaches to get better at that. And again, right now their primary roles are as pass rushers.
So if they started to show more in the run game, they could be in that role.
Yeah, and I think those guys have improved. But they need to also improve where they can dominate their position inside there, and they're working to do that day to day.
The last one here, Mike Chappell.
Yeah, Flus. I was curious you're coming off 2 games against teams you really don't face a lot, and now you're going to face a team that you know as well as anybody. Does it help to know that as much as they've had changes coaching staff and with Julio, that this is still a team that's going to accentuate Henry? I mean, what they're going to do. Does it make it easier or harder when you got a Derrick Henry to deal with?
Well, it's like every week, Mike. I think that you look at the issues that you're going to have with the skill level guys that you're playing, and this group is obviously with the great running back they have and the 2 receivers and the efficient quarterback. Their offensive line plays really well. I know they lost a really good tight end last year, but their tight ends are functioning well in the run game and the pass game. So every week's a challenge. Every week's a challenge, and this week is no different. It's a big challenge for any defense that goes against this offense. And I really think that knowing those guys in terms of our players, know those players in terms of how they execute and how they function in terms of the offensive line, running back, quarterback. I think that does help us. I think it really does. I think we're very familiar with those guys. And I think going forward is going to build our game plan going through the week.
Last question. When you face a Derrick Henry, is there a goal in mind as far as whether it's touches, yards per attempt? What's the general goal on a player like him?
Yeah, I mean, what you're trying to do there is and again, every team's trying to do the same thing. As you look at all the defenses and defensive coordinators across the league, everybody will say the same thing. Hey, limit the explosive runs. Get him to stop his feet in the hole, and those gang tackle. Everybody will say the same thing. Try to get him to go backwards or sideways, and in the run game. And easier said than done. And those guys. Everybody will say that, and that's what we have to do is play as a unit and play as a defense to be able to limit his plays.